Here to keep the peace. US President Joe Biden arrives in Belfast to mark 25 years of the Good Friday Agreement.
Ukrainian forces in the Bakhmut area continue their fight as Russian troops close in on the devastated town of Chasiv Yar.
Russian lawmakers back a bill on electronic military conscription in a bid to catch draft dodgers.
Manchester City defeat Bayern Munich in the first leg of the Champions League quarter-finals, while Inter Milan end Benfica's winning streak at the Stadium of Light.
US President Joe Biden arrived in Belfast on Tuesday evening at the start of his four-day visit to Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. After being briefly welcomed by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Biden was whisked away to his hotel. The president is in Northern Ireland to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement that brought peace to this part of the United Kingdom. The US helped negotiate an end to often brutal sectarian violence that killed thousands over the course of several decades. Belfast police are on high alert for the visit, which will later today have Biden making a speech at the new Ulster University. Biden has said his top priority is to make sure the Irish Accords and the Windsor Agreement stay in place to keep the peace. He's also expected to talk about how the US administration can support Northern Ireland's fragile economy.
Clashes between Russian forces and defending troops continue day and night on Ukraine's front line. In Chasiv Yar, 10 kilometres from embattled Bakhmut, residential areas are devastated, and the eastern city is surrounded on three sides by Russian forces. While most residents have already been evacuated from the city, those remaining continue their struggle to live in the war zone.
Мне, как говорится, все равно. Мне спокойно пожить на пенсии. Все. Я в политику, я далекий от политики. И вообще никогда я не занимался. И новостей сейчас не посмотришь никаких, потому что ни телевизора, ни радио.
In his nightly address on Tuesday, President Volodymyr Zelensky said the war has reached a critical stage, saying it was vital not to lose sight of Ukraine's path to victory. Keeping that focus was the country's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal. He is in Canada, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced a new round of military assistance to Ukraine, moments after the two countries signed a trade modernisation agreement.
Russia's lower chamber of parliament, the State Duma, has for the first time adopted a bill on electronic military draft papers. Lawmakers approved the necessary legislation with lightning speed on Tuesday, with near unanimity. Under the current system, potential conscripts are hand-delivered paper summons at their registered address or place of work, which they have to sign for personally. But recruiters have sometimes struggled to deliver the papers to the right address. Under new proposals, summons will be sent electronically to a potential draftee's personal account on the main government portal. They would be considered delivered as soon as they're delivered electronically. It's part of an effort to make it harder for men to avoid being drafted. In a previous mobilization at the start of the war in Ukraine, tens of thousands of draft-age men fled abroad. Russian authorities hope to catch draft dodgers this way. After the vote, Muscovites shared their feelings about the law on electronic military draft papers.
Но это инструмент, я так понимаю, для того, чтобы как-то заставить. Просто человек, это касается тех, кто, наверное, не хочет служить, отдать долг Родине. Не знаю, мне кажется, такое время надо быть вместе с Родиной.
Цифровизация – это, конечно, здорово, но печально, что это является сигналом следующей волны мобилизации, скорее всего. Хотелось бы, чтобы поменьше людей пострадало от этого.
The changes still need to be approved by the upper house of parliament and by President Vladimir Putin before they take effect. Myanmar's military has reportedly killed more than 100 people, including children, in one of its deadliest airstrikes. Crowds had been attending a ceremony held by opponents of army rule when a fighter jet dropped bombs directly onto the gathering. The attack targeted a village in the northwestern Sagaing region. The military is increasingly using airstrikes to counter an armed opposition, which began in 2021 when it seized power from the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi.
Police in the U.S. city of Louisville, Kentucky have released body camera footage of Monday's mass shooting at the Old National Bank. The video shows two officers being shot at as they approached the building. The front doors were glass, elevated from the sidewalk, and because of the reflection, the officers were not able to see the shooter inside. 5 people were killed by 25-year-old Connor Sturgeon before he was shot dead by police. One still image from the surveillance video showed the shooter, an employee at the bank, holding a rifle. On the steps of the Louisville Bank, a memorial continues to grow.
Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva is heading to China on a visit aimed at boosting economic ties with his country's largest trading partner. The leftist leader also hopes to re-establish Brazil on the global diplomatic scene. He's due to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Beijing. The US will be watching the visit closely as Washington's own relations with Beijing have been strained over China's ties with Russia and its aggressive stance on Taiwan.
Even outside his own country, Emmanuel Macron can't escape anger over his pension reforms.
I can answer this question if you give me...
The French president was interrupted by hecklers during a speech in the Netherlands on the future of the EU. When order was restored, he said Europe needs to innovate to compete with China and the US, particularly in net zero industries.
This is critical. Otherwise, we will lose our sovereignty and our ability to decide. We will fit with the requirements. We will be carbon neutral for 2050. But with Chinese or American technologies, which will put us at risk and create a huge turmoil because it will kill jobs. And it will create a situation where we will not be in a situation to decide for ourselves.
Macron has just returned from China, where he was seeking to reset EU relations with the superpower. He has long maintained that in order for Europe to thrive in the future, it must have strategic autonomy from China and the US.
Eva Kelly is the only defendant still in prison 4 months after the revelation of the corruption scandal in the European Parliament. In an exclusive interview with Euronews, the lawyer of the former parliamentary vice president insists on her innocence and says Kelly's defense team will ask for her release without restrictions.
He acts like a prosecutor. Madame Kelly a été entendue maintenant, les 2 dernières semaines, plus de 15 heures. Madame Kelly a répondu à toutes les questions et toutes les accusations des enquêteurs. Alors, il y a bien évidemment un problème, parce que ni le juge d'instruction, ni le procureur fédéral, ni les enquêteurs veulent entendre les réponses de Madame Kelly. Dans leur vision tunnel qui est la leur, ils veulent entendre certaines réponses, mais ce ne sont pas les réponses que Madame Kelly donne. The defense and the prosecutor.
According to the lawyer, Eva Kelly remains in prison because she's being used as a trophy for the Belgian authorities.
Des cas comme Madame Kelly, qui sont tellement considérés comme un trophée ou un symbole, et qui sont montrés comme la Coupe du Monde. Un joueur de football lève la Coupe du Monde quand Madame Kelly ici est levée comme étant le symbole pour dire, même si on a des hautes fonctions, vous resterez en prison, et c'est pour surtout dire aux autres parlementaires, ne commettez pas de corruption parce que vous irez longtemps en prison. Je trouve étonnant que un assassin qui tue quelqu'un par 6 balles dans la tête, en Belgique est libéré après 4 mois, et que Madame Kelly, après 4 mois et 1 semaine, n'est toujours pas libérée.
Sven-Marie insists there is no reason to keep her in jail as she cannot escape or destroy evidence.
Madame Kelly ne va pas s'évader en Grèce pour ne pas revenir. Et de toute façon, entre la Grèce et la Belgique, il y a une convention d'extradition. Madame Kelly ne sait pas faire disparaître les soi-disant preuves. Madame Kelly ne sait pas rentrer en contact avec des autres personnes qui éventuellement l'accuseraient. Par exemple, M. Panzeri. Madame Kelly, à ce stade-ci, est suspendue au Parlement européen, donc elle ne sait pas récidiver, elle ne sait pas, pour autant qu'il y ait des crimes ou des délits qu'elle a commis, elle ne sait pas recommencer. Donc aujourd'hui, ce serait d'une tristesse absolue qu'elle soit maintenue en prison.
Eva Kelly is due to appear before a court on Thursday. She's accused, among other things, of corruption and money laundering in a bribery scandal at the European Parliament.
Manchester City cruised towards the Champions League semi-finals for a third year in a row after defeating Bayern Munich at home on Tuesday. After 8 straight wins, the German side were blown away by City's attacking power, with goals from Rodri, Bernardo Silva and Erling Haaland. Elsewhere, Inter Milan fans had much to celebrate after I Nerazzurri ended their 6-match winless streak with a 2-0 victory over Benfica in the first leg of the quarter-finals. 7-time European champions AC Milan welcome first-time quarter-finalists Napoli tonight, while Real Madrid lock horns with Chelsea.